Hello, welcome to the Farmhouse. I'm Stephanie Spiker.
And I'm Candace Worsbowski.
And recently, I got the chance to talk to Denise Bosworth of Rohrbach's farm in Columbia County, Pennsylvania. Denise is the fourth generation on her family's farm, and she runs the farm market portion of their operation. But she is a very busy woman because in addition to farming, Denise also runs a nonprofit called Seeds of the Future, which focuses on ag education and experiences for kids as well as those with special needs. Additionally, Denise has written 2 agriculture-themed children's books. And here at Lancaster Farming, we can definitely relate to the goal of teaching kids about ag.
Yeah, that's right. We actually have a podcast for families and children. It's called the Super Smart Farm Show, and every week it tackles a farming-related question that little ones might have, like, why do sheep need haircuts? Or why do roosters crow? And so you can check that out on our website or anywhere that you would normally listen to podcasts.
Exactly. So now back to this podcast. So Rohrbach's farm is celebrating its 70th anniversary this year, and the farm was recently honored as one of the 7 recipients of our very own The Farmer's Choice Award here at Lancaster Farming. And Candace, I think you'll be excited to hear that Denise has been a longtime listener of the Farmhouse.
Ooh.
She often listens to episodes while she's working on her farm. So let's take Denise from listener to guest and bring her into the Farmhouse. Denise, welcome to the Farmhouse. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So you are part of the 4th generation at Rohrbach's farm, which is celebrating its 70th anniversary this year, the same as Lancaster Farming. So that's exciting. Yeah. But I know that at one point you took some time away from the farm and then ended up moving back kind of in the early to mid 2010s. So what drew you back to the farm?
So, first I want to say I really appreciated my parents encouraging me out of college to pursue something different. And I know that was hard for them because I left the farm and I went into, I moved away, and I'm so thankful for that. But then, so actually, what really brought us back, so my husband and I had both worked in corporate. At that point, we had 3 little kids, and we were living in Philadelphia area, and we just were not, it just wasn't where we were going to be settled, and we knew that. And we were just really tired of the corporate life. I was so thankful I could be a stay-at-home mom, but still for him, it was like we just didn't have family time. And he always had an interest in outdoor cooking. And so long story short, we ended up buying a barbecue trailer, calling my parents one summer saying, can we come set up roadside? Of course, I was bringing their 3 grandkids, so that was an easy yes. And the rest is history. He started outside roadside. That's when we came back. And then a couple years after that is when I really stepped back into the farm part of it for my family. And now we're in a restaurant, part of our farm market. So it's this big, beautiful full circle. That is the short version.
So just even by looking at your website, it's pretty clear to see that there is a lot going on at your farm. So, you guys grow a large variety of fruits, you grow field crops, you obviously have the farm market, your husband has the Big Dan's barbecue restaurant, and I see that also there is a farm winery that operates at your farm market as well. So how does your family keep everything organized and running smoothly? Because that is kind of a crazy list of things going on.
We have an amazing staff. That's just the bottom line. There's no way, we don't ever say, my parents would never say that. My aunt, who's really involved in the business, would never say that. My Dan would never say that. My brother. We just have an amazing group of people who literally show up every day and just do what they're passionate about, do what they're great at. They have great ideas. They add to it. And that's Freeze Farm Wineries. They're like a separate business that we partner with and is here. So it's a great win-win for us to partner with another local business. So yeah, staff, that's the key. It has to be,
So do you guys kind of have your own areas of expertise in a way, like with separating out the actual growing of the crops, the farm market, like all these different things? Do you guys have kind of your own niches, or is there a lot of kind of cross-pollination?
Definitely some cross-pollination. However, I'm still really dependent on my dad and other people for the farming part of it. I love to get out there and be with the kids who are on my crew and work with them, but I'm not the best. I just say that honestly, like I am so not the best at understanding what all has to be done on the farm on a regular basis or
Mhm.
keeping that part organized. I'm really good at making sure we have people here and make sure we have a great experience, or whether we're in a school or, a group is coming here, the education piece of it, and then the overall marketing and management of all those little nitty-gritty details, that's definitely me. And then my brother also farms. He is primarily hog operation, beef operation, and field crops. But he's just so fantastic with the cover crops and making sure my soil is staying healthy. And so I like to say my brother grows the food, Dan cooks the food, I throw the party. So that's so yeah, we all definitely bring our strengths to the table, but then work together to bring it all together. And again, it's giving the people who work with us the empowerment to do what they do really well.
Mm-hmm. So the one thing that I was really fascinated about that I know you do is you have written 2 agriculture-themed children's books, which I think is amazing. We actually fairly recently started a podcast for kids called Super Smart Farm Show, which is to teach kids about agriculture because we think that's super important and fun. And obviously you feel the same. So one of your books is on pumpkins and one's on strawberries. So I would love to know a little more. What has inspired these books? How has the reception been? And are there more ag books for kiddos in your future?
There's more ag books floating around in my brain, that's for sure. Um, So yeah, I'm sure at some point. So Penelope Pumpkin came out honestly when 2020 we were looking at doing like a family documentary or, starting to put some things in place. And then with some of our family being different places and not being able to travel, I ended up saying, let's put that history in that book. So our family history is documented in the back of Penelope Pumpkin, but Penelope Pumpkin came, that's what sort of pushed me to do it. I had wanted to do it. And then it's one of those things where I sat down and scribbled out my notes and did my stick drawings. And then Bennett, who did the graphics for both of those books, she's phenomenal. She's the one who made it magical and brought it to life. And then the strawberry book, because I always say, like when I visit classrooms, I have 2 favorite things, pumpkins and strawberries. If I could only grow 2 things, it would be pumpkins and strawberries. And then I wanted to also just include all the kids in my family in some way. And so they're in that book. Their pictures are in that book,
Aw.
as some of the characters in it. But yeah, the foundation of it and the inspiration for it is the ag education part of it. We're involved in a lot of schools. We're in about 17 school districts now where we're doing ag education. We're starting to really build foundations and build on that. So that's become a really great tool to be able to go in and read a book, donate it to the library, but also the foundation of the education piece of it. So yeah, I just enjoyed that process so much. And I really enjoy being a part of that and bringing that to kids. And then I'm a reader and I just love to foster reading in kids, get them reading is so important. And it's just so many kids aren't reading right now. So if that encourages a kiddo, that's great.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a big reader, so I totally agree.
Yeah.
So, speaking a little bit more about education, can you tell us more about your nonprofit Seeds for the Future?
hmm So I guess about 2 years ago, we started Seeds of the Future, and that came out of my husband reminding me that I can't do all these things on the farm for free, which I was like, well, I know, but that's always hard for me. And I mean, we do charge for all of our school tours and everything like that, but there are times that the finances are an obstacle for kids getting good education. And obviously,
Mhm.
nutrition we've been preaching the nutrition thing for years now. So I am so excited to see so much more exposure about what's in our kids' food, what we're eating, how we're preparing it. I've been really encouraged by that. But anyway, all that to say, Seeds of the Future came out of us realizing there's so much great funding out there and people who want to be involved in programs like this from a financial aspect that don't know how to be boots on the ground like we do. And again, that comes back to my staff. We are really, really good at being boots on the ground in the classrooms and supporting our teachers who are doing hard work doing super hard work. I just want to shout out to our teachers and educators. They've got full plates in every way. So when we can come in and back them up with programming that they're already doing, that's one aspect of it. So we've been able to secure some really great financing. Dollar General has a literacy grant. We've done 2 summer book club programs now that are here on the farm. And it's all agriculture. It all connects to agriculture. Like, it's all great agriculture books. And then we're getting them out on the farm in science and math and in just enforcing all of those kind of things, introducing kids to new foods. This week, we've baked almost 100 homemade butternut squash pies that
Oh
we've been
my
going
gosh.
into school. I know, with our own homemade butternut squash, we homegrown, baked it here, baked it down, made our pies that were taken into different schools and introducing kids that most pumpkin pie is made from butternut squash, introducing to the health and nutrition of pumpkin. So there's so many aspects of that. Whether it just even means soil bags. We did soil bags in the spring where we worked in a couple of different communities where we sent families home with, the big fabric soil bags and the seeds and the plants, and just trying to foster something little, because I know I'm not going to change a whole community. I'm just not. But if I can find a kiddo who finds joy in planting and growing food on their front porch, and then they start to realize, like, wait a minute, I can maybe do this on a bigger level, and then maybe I can do this in my community and change my community. I just believe that, and that's what we function out of.
Yeah. So the one thing that I really was intrigued by when reading about your nonprofit is that you put a lot of focus on providing farming education and experiences to special needs guests.
Mm.
What really inspired that? Why is that such a big part of your focus?
So my niece is now 24 years old, and she has autism. She is my inspiration,
Oh.
initially, because I would see how sometimes people would treat her or her family when they would go places. And there just was no reason for that. And that the capacity that our special needs guests have is amazing. And so it just sort of stemmed from all of that, and realizing they have such gifts and abilities and talents. It just looks different than what we consider normal. And then what I found, so that's really grown, that has really grown that piece of it, including activities that we do with just 12 and older, because there's this need for a socialization with that group and that age group. I love being around them because there's no hurry, and they're not distracted by all the other craziness in life that the rest of us are. They're just in the moment and attentive to those details. And I don't know. I think every time I get kind of wrapped up in all the crazy stress of the farm or the life or the world or any of it, and we have one of those events, it just puts life 100% back in perspective, what really
Yeah,
matters.
that's awesome. That's very cool. So I know your farm, at least fairly recently, transitioned from its third generation of your parents and aunts and uncles to its fourth generation of like you and your brother. So how was that transition process for your family? And then do you have any tips for farms and families that might kind of be approaching that time of transition?
So my brother's actually farmed here all of his life. So
Hmm.
he's been foundational in that. And again, and I admire him so much because he's been progressive in the sense of, like, probably being one of the first farmers, if not the first farmer in the area who introduced cover crops. And he's been doing
Hmm.
that long before that's been acceptable practice. And so he's been a part of it for a long time. The part that transitioned to me was the farm market part, the agritourism part, which is really my passion part of it. And so it was a fast and furious transition. My parents had made a decision. They really came to the point where it had been some really challenging years for them, and they knew that trying to go through that one more year without significant changes was essential. And so we did make that transition. It was not this beautiful planned out transition like you read about that we should do. However, because our family works very well together and faith is at the foundation of everything we do, I think God was a big part of all of that for us, and really, protected our family and helped us navigate through a really challenging time. That's how it happened. And I think this is both how it happened and also my advice to other families is that when you're making that transitional time, you have to respect each other. Like I have to respect the third generation. They have laid their blood, sweat, and tears into this farm. They have worked so hard to create it what it is. And so there's what parts of that must I honor? And that's important. On the flip side of that, and I think my dad and my mom and my aunt and my uncle who've all been very involved and like I said, are still very involved to this day. Um, they gave me free reign, which was hard for them
Yeah.
because we did come in and there were some things that Dan and I had to do in the business that literally pulled the rug out. That felt sick to the bottom of my stomach because I cared so much about the people. And I don't, it just, but they were changes that like, if we don't move it in this direction immediately, we will not right the ship. And again, that's nothing negative about anything that had been done previously. It just had literally been, the challenges of farming and what they genuinely represent. So we were able to create a much greater diversification out of our passions and talents and abilities. And to this day, I'm so grateful. There are still some of the people who have been a part of my family for years and years who still come back and are, maybe it's just part of our fall events or whatever. And I'm grateful for that because I feel like that was rough. There were a couple really rough years there, just emotionally, knowing like I had to make hard decisions, but they had to be done and rebuilding the trust with people who it impacted. So, but my bottom line is you have to respect each other. And it makes me sad because I do talk to people in my generation who have previous generations who will not relinquish any type of control. And that's what's forcing them away from their farms. And that is heartbreaking. But it also makes me incredibly, incredibly grateful for my parents, my aunt, and my uncle. And I'm telling you, it's not always easy. And trust me, they love to still tell me. And I welcome their input and their advice and their counsel. And I do. I need it. I need that. But that's the mission critical bottom line right there. You got to relinquish some control.
Yeah, it's a tough topic, and it's something that, we've talked about on the podcast before, and there's really no easy way necessarily to do it, or even necessarily a right way to do it, because it is also very family based. But I mean,
Yeah.
I do think respect has to be, at the forefront in every time.
Yeah.
So absolutely. So I know your farm was recently chosen as one of the recipients of the Farmer's Choice Award, which for our listeners who aren't familiar with it is a new award created by Lancaster Farming that was voted on by our readers. So farms were nominated by readers and, our followers on social media, and then also voted on by those same people. So for your family being chosen as one of the 7 awardees, what does that mean for you guys?
Oh my goodness. That is just, I don't, that is so humbling to me because I've read all the other farms and families that are out there, and to be acknowledged on this platform with these other people is incredibly humbling to me because I mean, they're just people doing really amazing things. And I just hope it supports everything we do and continues to not just meet like the farming community, but like we have a pretty big platform outside of the farming community. And so I really, really hope it continues to represent farming and agriculture well. And that's incredibly, I love just reading all those families and individuals and what they're doing to be considered with that is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think we had a total of, I believe it was 58 nominated farms.
Wow.
So what was your guys' reaction when you found out that you were chosen?
Oh my goodness. We were like, well, we first got Christine, who's my office administrator, who is the person who keeps me really, really organized and on track. She said, "You're not allowed to tell anybody," when we first found out. And I was like, what? Like,
right. Because we had like a big date for announcing. Yes.
And it wasn't like I wanted to tell the public. It was literally like I wanted to tell my staff right away because again, they're the ones who make all this happen. Like they're the ones who need all the credit in this. And, our family gets to maybe be the face of it all. But again, they're the ones. So it was a little bit hard for me to contain that till I was allowed to. But just, again, it to me, it really just represents what gets done here from the people who do it. So yeah, that was exciting. It's so exciting. I don't know. We were just so excited about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I actually was so excited. So for our listeners who aren't quite as familiar with this new award, all of the 7 farms that were chosen were then featured in a special section. And in the article about Rohrbach, Denise actually talked about how she listens to FarmHouse while she's working, which I was so excited to see that you actually listen to this and are a fan. So you will know then what's coming as our final question.
I know.
So hopefully you've had a little time to prepare.
I know.
So
it's funny because I thought, I'm gonna brainstorm and thing, and then I'm like, no, I'm just gonna, yeah.
All right, maybe winging it's the way to go, right? Whatever comes to you.
I think maybe.
It is officially your turn, Denise, to answer. What does being a woman in ag mean to you?
Okay. So first of all, I always love hearing from other women on this because I just think women represent agriculture incredibly well. And one of the things that I say all the time when I have the opportunity to talk, and a lot of times I create my own opportunities to talk, but when I'm in a group of farmers, I'm like, guys, if we want kids to be part of agriculture now and in the future, we have to represent it well. We can't be grumpy, miserable people complaining all the time about our equipment breaking down and our stressful life and all that kind of stuff. Like that may be true, but those are pieces of a puzzle. And so I think being a woman in agriculture is standing on a platform saying agriculture is an important industry on many levels, but it's also very important that we represent it well, whether it's to all generations, all people, and talk really in a positive way about what agriculture means to us, not just our food sourcing, but how we care for the land, how we interact with kids. Whenever I have the opportunity, and I do a lot to talk to kids, I say, I'm a farmer. As a farmer, why do you think I grow food? And then I help them think through it. I grow food for my family, but I grow food for my community. I want you to have good food. So just using it as a platform to represent agriculture really well and then invite kids into this as a career choice and as a valid, acceptable career choice.
Yeah, I love that. See, on the fly works out sometimes.
On the fly, yeah.
Well, Denise, thank you so much for joining me at the farmhouse. I appreciate the fact that you love listening, and it was so exciting to get to read your
Thanks
story.
Thanks for what you guys do. I love it. I love the ladies that you're out there finding, and I just enjoy it so much. It's just great listening in. So keep it up, please.
Well, oh yeah, we plan to. So thank you for joining us. It was really great actually getting to talk to you and virtually meet you.
That's exactly, yes.
I'm so excited we were able to get Denise on the podcast, especially given that she has been a longtime listener. And it might sound a little cliche to say this, but I feel like she is one of those farmers who puts the family in family farm.
Yeah, I see that for sure.
Yeah, I feel like not only is the farm really centered around her own family, I feel like she's doing a lot of work to open it up to other families, especially children, and like you mentioned, people with intellectual or developmental disabilities. I really loved hearing about that and the work that she's been doing with Seeds for the Future. It's wonderful to hear from a person and an organization who realizes that, as she said, there's an incredible capacity there with people who have IDD. And I think that people just need to realize that these people can have these experiences. It's just going to look a little differently. So I loved hearing that she was opening up her farm to people who can have those experiences.
Yeah, it's so clear talking to her how much of a heart she has for farming, but then also just for people as a whole. And that is such a It's definitely not a unique combination, which we've learned from this podcast that there's a lot of women who are the same way. But I feel like stereotypically farmers are kind of known to be very like just keep to themselves and just want to do their work and you know, be self-sufficient and independent and all these things, which is all great qualities and definitely makes a good farmer. But there are clearly a ton of farmers out there who want to really expand what they're doing to the community and to a lot of people, which I also think is really cool.
Well, it's such an important thing, right? I mean, we've talked before about how, you know, children are just intrinsically interested in agriculture. They're interested in like nature. And so to be able to kind of take advantage of that and teach them about ag and kind of start building that relationship is so important. And I love that she's, you know, written these 2 adorable books to help kids like, you know, learn about where their food comes from, where pumpkins come from, where strawberries come from, because this is important stuff to know.
Absolutely. And who doesn't love pumpkins and strawberries? That's like 2 winners when it comes to like farm produce.
All right, well, we will wrap things up there. Thank you all for listening. If you liked this episode, please consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And if you really like this episode, please consider leaving us a review.
If you have any questions or thoughts about the episode or the podcast, you can email us at farmhouse@lancasterfarming.com.
You can also find us on social media at Lancaster Farming on most platforms.
Thank you again for visiting the farmhouse. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Candace.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
This episode of The Farmhouse is copyright 2025 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, part of the Steinman Communications family.
It was written by Stephanie Spiker and Candace Wierzbowski. It was produced by Eric Herlock. It was mixed by Justin Berger. Music is by Tin Bird Shadow.